YouTube channel. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Sire, and I'm going to teach you how to trade the right way. So the first step to becoming a profitable trader is having a good understanding of how to utilize the app or the website TradingView. So TradingView is the platform that you are going to use to analyze what the stock is doing throughout the day, throughout the night, or whenever you want to enter, exit a trade or whatnot. This is where you are going to be spending the majority of your time as a trader, which is on the charts. So think of this as your playground, okay? So if we go to tradingview.com, they have a bunch of different plans. Now, me personally, I have the most expensive plan, and I forgot how much it is, but they have a free trial. They have different plans. Just pick whatever works best for you. The free version works perfectly fine. So does the premium version. It all just depends on what you like, okay? So the first step, when you go on tradingview.com, there's going to be a bunch of things on here. You can see other people's trading ideas or whatnot. Me personally, I don't pay attention to any of that at all. So the first thing that you really want to focus on, and really the only thing you should focus on the main page, is just the search. So the search is where you are going to look at whatever stock you want to see, okay? And then you also have tabs as people, spark, scripts, ideas, or whatnot. Me personally, my TradingView name is Eat More Chicken. That is me right there. So if you want to give that a follow, go ahead. I don't really post on there, but it's whatever. So if you want to look at, let's say, Netflix, you would just type in NFLX and you would click on symbols, and you want to make sure it says Netflix and it has the American flag. That's how you know you're looking at the right one. So let's say you wanted to look at Apple. You would type in Apple, and you can see here's the Apple stock and the American flag is next to it. So those are the first two things you want to look for when trying to find a stock. So for this example, let's just use Apple. So we're going to go to Apple. We're going to click Launch Chart. And this is going to take us into the actual chart. Now, if you are new to TradingView, your chart is not going to look like this, but by the end of this video, your chart will look very similar to mine, and it's going to help you tremendously, okay? So going into here, if you double click on one of these candles, you will see you have settings for all the candles and other things. So the one that I like to use is this right here, where my up candles are yellow and my down candles are black. So this just means bullish and bearish, okay? So let's just start off with getting your candles the same color as mine. So double click a candle, and the first thing we're going to look at is body, and it's under the symbol tab. So if we click body, you want to make sure it says yellow and make the opacity 47%. Now the one next to it, you want to make sure it's black 100%. For the borders, you want to make sure they are both black with the opacity of 100%. Same thing here. And for the wicks, same thing. Black, opacity 100%. Okay, so now moving forward, what you can do is your pre/post market hours. Change these colors to the second white, opacity 8%. Same thing for the next one. And we will talk about what that means later on, but just do it for now. So then go to canvas, make sure the background says solid, click the second white. For the grid lines, vert and hors, make sure it's white and the opacity is 0% for both of them. For the crosshair, you want it to be black 100%. For the text, you want it to be black 100%. and the number 12. So just from those few things, this is what your chart should look like here. Okay? So moving on, now what we're gonna do is go up to this symbol here, just put your mouse over it, and it should say candles, and just click once. Now, these are all different types of ways to view the chart. You're not gonna focus on any of them except candles. So you wanna make sure it says candles here. So now your chart should be looking like mine. So if you go to this corner, this settings in the bottom right, click once, hover over session, and make sure it says extended trading hours. And always make sure you leave that on, okay? So basically this is exactly how it works. So the stock market Central Time is open from 8:30 in the morning to 3 p.m. Central Time. So everything that is outside of these hours is considered extended trading, because that is when the market is closed. So here you have your market open hours, and your post market could range from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. CT. And then your pre-market, which is just simply before the market opens, could be from 5:30 a.m. CT to 8:29 a.m. CT. So think of it as something like this. Actually, let me change these. So you have your pre-market, real market hours, and this is when you are actually going to be trading between this, and then over here you have your post market, and this is when the market is closed. So the market is closed here and here, but the market is open during here. And that is what the extended hours is. So extended trading hours occur here and here. So as price is moving, you will be able to see how it moves through pre-market and post-market, because these are things that we are gonna take into consideration when it comes to charting, because you want to see the full picture essentially, okay? So now let's dive into how to utilize all of these different tools within TradingView. So the first icon up here, this is going to be what your cursor is. So if you see I'm moving my mouse around, I have like a cross. If I switch it to an arrow, it's just going to look like a little mouse. If I switch it to a dot, it's going to be a dot. Personally, I would just leave it on the cross. And if you like something, you can always star it and it'll always stay there. Okay? So for your next icon, you have your trend line and your horizontal ray. Now, the ones that I use are going to be starred. The rest of these I don't use that often. So what all your trend line does, this is a line where if you click once, you can move it in any direction you want. This is something you're going to use. Let's say you see price doing something like this, and you want to pinpoint and you want to highlight that you see price coming around this same area. You can take a trend line and do something like this to highlight where price is struggling to break above. So your trend line is a line where you can move in any direction. You can move it sideways, up, down, left, right. Okay? So now the next is your arrow. And with this arrow, if you click once, it's just pointing. It's just the arrow pointing in whatever direction. So if you want to highlight, you think, let's say this is price, and you think price is going to go lower from here, you can click once and make an arrow pointing down. So the next icon that I use on here is the horizontal ray. If you click once, it's just going to be a horizontal line, and you can make it how short or however long you want, and you can toggle it between the price. So if you see on the right here, this is the price of the stock. So if I want to highlight prices at 202.44, I can make a horizontal right here. If I want to highlight it's at 205, I can do the same here. And also one thing to note is if you double click or just single click whatever line you put, this is your toolkit. So within your toolkit, you can change the color of the line. So if I wanted to make this line blue, click on the drawing and click blue. If I want to make it black, click on the pencil, make it black. And now this is the width of it. So if I want to make it very thick, I can make it 4. If I want to make it thin, I can make it 1. And then there's other settings in here. If I wanted to put text in the middle of it, I can say something like this: subscribe to my channel. I can click it, double tap, and put whatever I want within there. Now if I want to make the text align on the top, I can do the same here, the bottom. Personally, I just leave it in the center. Okay? So now, moving on from here, we have our third label. I don't really use anything in here, so we're not going to cover it. Moving on to the fourth, we have our brush, highlighter, rectangle, and path line. So for our brush, this is going to be pretty much our drawing pencil. And we can change the color, and we can make it how thick or thin we want, and we can essentially draw anything. Now the highlighter, this is the same thing, but it's going to be a lot thicker. I don't use that as often. And next we have the rectangle, where if you click once, drag it out. If you wanted to highlight a box or a zone or anything like that, this is what you would use to do it. Now moving on to the fifth one, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have your text. If you click your text, you can type anything you want in here. And then you also have your price label. So if you want to highlight a specific point on where price is, you just click once and it'll show you price is at 204. You could move it down, now it's at 201. Now within this is the only thing I use. And now you have your long and short position and price range. So these are ones that I use each and every single day. So your long position, if you click once, it'll look something like this. So the middle section, that is essentially where your entry will be at. So if you were going to enter play and you wanted to highlight where you got in and where your take profit area is, which is all that means is where you exit the play and profit, and the bottom is going to show where your stop loss is. And a stop loss is a representation of an area of where after you enter your trade, if price goes to your stop loss, that is where you exit for however big or small of a loss that is. So this is your risk management side, and this is your kind of like your take profit area up here. So down here is your stop loss, and here is your take profit targets. So that is how you utilize the long position tool. Now for the short position, it's the exact same thing, but just reversed. So your stop loss and your target. So essentially you always want to have your stop loss smaller than your target. And in future videos, we'll talk about how to figure out where you should be looking to set a stop loss or take profit. Don't worry about it for now. We're just focusing on the basics, okay? So now that you know how to utilize the tools, now let's talk about our time frames, okay? So all the time frames is a representation of the time we are looking at price, essentially, or how we want to view it. So think of time frames as a magnifying lens in a sense. So the higher the time frame, the bigger picture you are looking at. The smaller the time frame, the more zoomed in you are looking at price. So if you want to see what price is doing on a larger scale, you want to use your higher time frames, such as your 1 week, 1 day, 4 hours. Those are going to be your higher time frames. Now your middle time frames can be 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, okay? And then your smaller time frames is going to be your 5 minute all the way down to 1 second. So if you are looking to view what price is doing on a higher scale, you're going to use your higher time frames. If you're looking to get a precise entry or to see what's happening on a smaller scale, always use your lower time frames. So if we go to Apple here, and let's just delete everything. And also to delete stuff, all you do is hover over this trash can, click remove drawings. So if we go to Apple here and we're gonna type in 1M, and that means 1 month, we can see here, this is what the chart looks like. So you see, we don't have many candles. Whereas if we go to a 1 hour time frame, we have so many more candles because we can see what's happening on a smaller scale. So that's pretty much the whole gist of how these different time frames work. So the smaller the time frame, the more candles you'll see. The higher the time frame, the less candles you'll see. Okay? So lastly, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a candle. So simply just the basics of how to read these candles, okay? So for our chart here, and if your chart looks exactly like mine, this is how you're going to read it. So let's say here we have our yellow candle. So something like this. And then let's say right next to it, we have our black candle. So these candles are going to represent bearish and bullish signs within the market, okay? So what bullish means is upside, what bearish means is downside, to keep it as simple as possible. So if we are looking at the yellow candles, which indicates price is moving higher, this is how we're going to read it. So I'm going to go to the second icon and use the arrow tool. So every candle is going to be a rectangle, and there's going to be some lines coming out of it, which is called our wicks. So the bottom of the rectangle here on the yellow candles, on our bullish candles, this is going to show where price opened. The top of the rectangle is going to show where price closed. Okay, so now we have our wicks, and this is showing the bottom wick is going to show the low, and the top wick is going to show the high. So let's use our price label to see the different prices. So if this candle opened here, it opened at 82.82, and the high it made was 164.27, and the candle closed at 149.93, and the low that it made was 69.70. So that is how you read a candle for the bullish candles, okay? So we see we are on a 1 month time frame, so each candle represents 1 month of time. If we were on a 15-minute time frame, every candle represents 15 minutes of time, okay? So now if we move to the bearish candles, which is going to be our black candles, everything is the same except the open and the close, okay? So if we go to the bottom of this rectangle, this is going to be where price closes. And the top of the rectangle is going to be where price opens. And the wicks are the exact same. So this is going to be our low. And this is going to be our high. Okay? So this is how you read the anatomy of the candles. So let's pull out our price label tool. We can see where price closed is 77.94. We see where price opened is 152.06. And we see our high at 162.13. And we see our low at 67.26. So this is basic anatomy of candles. And this right here, you never want to forget, because this is going to make your life 1,000 times easier when it comes to trading. And you will see over the course of this series that understanding how to read candles is going to make trading just a whole lot simpler for you. Okay? So for example, this is the last thing we'll do. Let's go to a 1 hour time frame. And let's zoom into price right here. So if I wanted to look at, let's say, this area over here, I can see we have this huge black candle. So within this 1 hour time frame, the high was 192.39 and the low was 190.60. So if I want to come over here and look at this bullish candle, I can see the high for this hour was at 192.97 and the low was 191.36. All right. So this is everything I wanted to cover in this video. Throughout this video, you should have learned how to utilize the basics of TradingView. If you enjoyed this, let me know what you liked. Please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and we will continue on with this series. Thank you.